Welcome to MezFi Meets, a podcast where we bring you conversations from the cutting edge of blockchain AI, financial services, and property, with interesting people doing amazing things. I'm your host, Jerome Dadon, the CEO of MezFi. On today's episode, we interview Simone Leonelli. He's an industrial designer, an expert in Metaverse, and the founder of Studio W230. If you enjoy our content, please consider liking and subscribing. MezFi is an investment manager in Australia. If you'd like to find out more about us and our products, go to www.mezfi.com. Let's jump into today's episode. Hey everyone, it's MezFi Meets, Jerome Dadon, the CEO of MezFi, here today with Simone Leonelli. Simone, how are you, mate?
Very good, mate. How are you? Thank you for having me here.
No, I'm absolutely amazing, mate. Now that you're here with me, Simone. Now you're the founder of Studio W230, a sandbox for your amazing mind, your projects, your creativity. I know you've won some prizes in metaverse hackathons before. You've also had a past life in fashion over
Yes.
in Italy.
Well, yeah.
So you've done a lot of stuff. How exactly did you get into the metaverse and crypto space in the beginning? And how long ago was that now?
Okay. So I think it's like an organic evolution of a series of events. So it might start with studying how to create digital 3D models of object and things. And then you discover that then this object can live in a parallel dimension, which is the digital dimension. This is in a nutshell, but my personal progression in there was is about I'm actually still an industrial designer. I got some project here and there. They are more about events, more architectural. But I moved into let's say the digital world when I discovered basically NFT because at that time there was the first experiment on AI, and there was this crypto buzz happening. There was propelling also the metaverse as a concept, as a whole, so and that's pretty much where my passion started.
Yeah, well, I remember when we met. It was after CryptoCon, the first evening. It was at a pub, and we were sort of sitting down and chatting about NFTs, and we were
Yes.
so passionate about it. I remember your project. Remind me of your project. It was about bringing awareness to mental health as a result of purchasing NFTs. Is that right?
Yes, we landed that. It was interesting value proposition. Basically, this client of mine asked me to tokenize the art of her brother that died, unfortunately. And then she was like, "How can I make this art live forever?" And she was into crypto. I'm talking about a lady around 60. So I'm not talking about someone fresh out of the school that is looking into these things. I'm talking about someone you know, that you wouldn't expect.
No, definitely
So
not.
she knew about Bitcoin and about this and about that, probably because they travel around the world, especially Dubai. And so basically she asked to tokenize the art, the art of her brother. There was among the other things, a great artist, but also suffering from mental disorder. So the art was the therapy for him to basically express all the turbulences and issue that people that have mental health problem or mental illness problem. And then I basically, this was incredible because I discovered a completely new world. In a nutshell, I discovered that basically 50% of the people have that. Actually, 3% out of 5 in Australia is currently suffering or have suffered from mental disorders. That is super common. It's like, just another form of stress that becomes like a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this society seems that doesn't help, like in general, to fix these things. Maybe like, I mean, I'm very optimistic about the outlook of like, humanity and society as a whole. So I think like the metaverse as well, if we want to start talk about that, it can be like, a formal like, expression, or like a place, hopefully a safe place
Yeah.
for the people to navigate like, tough time.
Yeah.
Same as like, video games. Like video games, I think save life. A lot of like, young people use video games, not just young people, everyone. They like, likes to play video games, like to shoot, like to somehow like, let something go, like,
Yeah.
is very important. So that project opened like, open up to a lot of like, discussion and deep thinking around like, how important is like, like yeah, our mental like, health and in the physical and digital. Because this was like after COVID, so there was also like a lot of like problem up and through COVID. I think like, okay, in a nutshell, like, let's start from the basic, okay? So,
Yeah.
what is the metaverse? Because maybe no one knows what is the metaverse,
Maybe
okay?
not.
So, exactly. So it's just a buzzword, okay? So we got like Web 1.0, 1.0, which is just static web, and
Yep.
I remember like the best use case for the final user was like having like your bio. It was a static web page with your picture. I'm professor of this and this and that. Dun dun dun. This is my number and fax.
Yep. Yep.
Fax. And then it evolved with like Web 2, which is like, the information era with like Wikipedia, and then we got social media, and then becomes like, everyone start to share, and then it becomes like, something very different, a little bit more interactive. Then we got what we call Web 3, very, very, very like in a nutshell, which is the evolution of all of these, let's say with the finance in a different infrastructure, which is decentralized. So that means that we have a, let's say, much more flexible system and open and horizontal compared to the previous one.
Yep.
They open up a lot of like possibilities, such as MezFi, mezzanine finance on crypto, or like many other things, such as like digitalize digital assets. Sorry, tokenize
Yeah. Tokenized
physical
assets.
assets. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
tokenize that. So long story short, for me, it's like Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, and then what's happened? Okay, then we got Metaverse, which is the next level. So we're gonna have like something that is not flat. It's something that is around you if you want. It's something that can be switched on and off, hopefully. It's something that can enhance like experience in a different fashion. So this is like, the progression. Another buzzword nowadays is like spatial computing, which
Yeah.
is just like, around like, this technology that digitalize the world. Because as an architect, for example, I can say that for me, the most important things is like a digital twin, because it's like, a digital representation of a real world physical object, such as a building or whatever. So that's like, what is important for me. And perhaps like in this digital world, I want to engage in a different fashion. And then I can use that for different purposes, marketing or showcasing and blah, blah, blah. So like, is an organic evolution, I think, in general. Like, it's a natural evolution of things. As the technology evolve, we evolve, and we use like the things in a different way.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got like some issue here and there with like, computational power and resources that we need to address, which is very important, is fundamental. But hopefully there is going to be like, some breakthrough pretty soon around how we produce, energy, and how we like, actually compute data through hardwares and things like that. I saw
So,
something, yeah.
yeah, so I wanted to ask then, what are the current limitations? Because, in terms of computer chips and processing power, GPUs, Nvidia, obviously Nvidia is a big, the biggest company in the world at the moment, and the chips have been, increasing at an exponential rate. Obviously, they don't have a quantum computer just yet. Is that what we need, like the quantum computer, to get to the point where metaverse is going to be, number one?
Uh,
The resolution needs to be good enough to be indistinguishable from reality, and the refresh rate and all those sorts of things to be able to immerse yourself properly. Is that what we need?
This is a very interesting question, and um, because like the biggest problem is like the resources are limited, and we need more and more and more. And this technology, I'm talking about AI, I'm talking
Yep,
about blockchain. Blockchain is unstoppable. Okay, so
totally.
no one can switch it off. So that means that we need to find like new solution to mine these things to make it happen.
Yep.
AI is not unstoppable. We can stop AI. We can switch it off, but is exponentially growing faster than whatever else technology. Is actually a breakthrough, that the first time in human history that we can have a technology that think about itself, make decision, and create things. Is the first time in human history.
Yeah.
So it's like a new paradigm. But except that, when we talk about resources and then we get into like digital divide, like a lot of people doesn't have access to many things.
Yeah.
So metaverse doesn't, it shouldn't be a privilege.
No, definitely
Um,
not.
yeah, but like just recently, I saw like there are like incredible things happening in how to create like to get back to your point around Nvidia, big player and monopoly. There are like interesting development. I saw people like starting to rebuild completely the stack computer and stack to generate yeah, to process computation and data. So
Wow.
they don't use the normal stack,
The normal chips.
the normal chips. They are developing them. It is incredible. Yeah, because basically, I think it's called Exolab AI.
Exolab, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So
And
basically,
they're building their own chips, are they?
yes, because basically what is happening is like, to get back to the hardware and talk about NVIDIA, okay, NVIDIA got a big problem. If you use NVIDIA, you need to use CUDA, which is a driver. And then CUDA driver works just with like, some sort of machine. And Apple, for example, doesn't like that. So you can't have
Mm,
like machine learning through CUDA through NVIDIA.
that's
Or you have
interesting.
to like, cloud computing. So cloud computing is different because you have no control. It's not on your machine. It
Yep.
becomes a different use case. Yeah, but we are getting back to the hardware, and then the hardware is the problem is like we are now down to the nanometers to create like GPU and CPUs, and
Yep.
we can't squeeze down more than that. And
Mm,
having this exponential progression of like data creation, okay? So, and then down to that things, there is like, it's all about math. How can we can generate like, these electron impulses and associate them with data and process them faster and easier. So
yep.
if you look at Exolab, they got some solution which is like a meta state between
Okay.
like um, quantum computing, just to touch on your point, which is
Yep.
the final like answer to that, and something that is the current state of play of hardware system and GPUs and CPUs and all of this. And I found this very fascinating, and it's
Yeah.
very important for the development of like, metaverse, absolutely, and what it comes out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and this is like probably taking a little bit of the tangent, like,
It's all right.
yeah, that's all right. That's all right.
No, I don't mind taking a tangent as long as we're finding really interesting stuff to talk about. I mean, I'm happy. I think we're in the pocket, to be perfectly frank with you. I mean, this stuff is, especially I think where Nvidia is concerned, you know, they're really at the storm, at the center of everything that's going on here. I actually heard the other day that Elon Musk was saying that they build their own chips because you know, because Nvidia, either because of supply issues for Tesla, um, and yeah, so they build their own proprietary fit for purpose chips because the Nvidia chips, you know, either weren't plentiful enough through COVID. Everyone knows how scarce they became, you know, with manufacturing. And so, yeah, I think Nvidia is definitely poised for a lot of competition with AI the way that it is now. Um,
Mm.
yeah, so I just and I guess I wanted to say that, you know, today, I mean, metaverse may not be as big as it was a few years ago, but
Yeah.
you won, and I said at the beginning, and I'm still very excited about this, that you won a prize in
Oh, yeah, yeah.
at a metaverse hackathon, didn't you?
Yeah.
And that was for and I saw the world that you created. It was amazing.
Thank you.
What was that? What was that about? What was that hackathon for?
So yeah, this was like 2021, if I'm not wrong. And there was like, these buzz around the metaverse. It was like up there compared to where it is now. That is like, not many people mention that, even though, we got Vision Pro that is about to be, in the market. It's
Yeah,
actually already in the market. But yeah, it was like an amazing hackathon, and there was like this crazy platform which is called Mona Gallery. I got it crazy because it's like a very different platform compared to other ones such as Spatial or other thing, Decentraland. Just because it was like integrating avatars, it was like also having this edge around art, and it was like it was very interesting, and and I was like very like fascinated about that. And so I said, okay, let's try. So, and the idea there was like, okay, what I can create. So I created like, this kind of a sphere, a bubble, which is like, kind of like a microcosmos that you can get into. And there was this mixture of like, ancient statues. And then there was like, a flying whale. There were like, raining bitcoins.
yeah, yeah. No, I remember
And
you posted it on LinkedIn one day, and I was looking at the fly through, thinking, this is cool. So, at the when we post the video, you'll have to send me a link
Sure.
to that, so that anyone who's listening to the video today can actually, you know, do a look through of that
That's
world that you
fun.
created.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely fun to have a walk around. There is even like a nice slide, like spiral that you can get up to the like, top level, and there is a little bit of music with a DJ. So,
Nice, nice.
so there is like a little bit of fun in there. Yes, because of course, like, to engage with like, the audience, Metaverse is perfect. There are like, amazing example from big brands. We can mention like, Lacoste, we can mention Louis Vuitton.
Yeah,
We can mention like, plenty of brands that are now like, tapping into either the metaverse as we intend that. So like, uh, decentralized with that kind of infrastructure, or
yeah,
using something very similar, which is like, Roblox things. There is like, a lot to do around like, metaverse, and this brand are like trying to push the boundary to deliver like, experiences for their customers in a different passion.
yeah,
The,
yeah,
the,
yeah,
the reality is like adoption is driven by manufacture, so many factors. So like we just mentioned before, the hardware problem, digital divide, but before that there is like education. So not
yeah.
many people knows how to use this, how to use that. So it is like uh, a process that takes time, is inevitable,
Yep.
Obviously, maybe young generation are going to pick these up very, very fast compared to my mom and dad.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's interesting time, in general, and yeah, I can talk about for example, what I'm doing now at the university, UNSW
Yeah.
here in
Cool.
Sydney, which is yeah, just to change topic or just to progress in this conversation. I saw new students coming from whatever background, they're very interested now into 3D modeling. Somehow I see this 3D world becoming more and more interesting for the new generation. Probably because they just saw that we can move from photo to video, and then there is this extra expression which is animation with CGI and things like that. So I saw interesting the I saw a lot of interest in yeah in the new generation around these things. So I can't wait for crazy technology to happen, because it's very possible to make very interesting things nowadays.
Yeah, no,
You know?
it definitely is. I mean, you mentioned the Apple Vision Pro,
Yeah.
which which came out recently. I mean, I don't want you to give a definitive sort of recommendation of different headsets or anything, but have you used all the different apparel out there? Do you have a view on which ones are better than others, or which ones are more impressive?
Well, you have to okay. Now I never used the Apple Vision Pro, and
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to use that. Just because it seems like very advanced system compared to Oculus,
Yep.
from Meta,
Yep.
which is this. We everyone knows Facebook, and everyone knows that they are really betting on this technology
For sure.
heavily. But
Yep.
I've tried from for example, the Ray-Ban, the glasses from Meta.
Oh, have you tried those ones? I saw
Yeah,
they look
they're
amazing.
they look very good.
Yeah.
They sound very good,
Yeah.
and they take good picture and video.
Cool.
So I think it's and they're quite lightweight. So I feel it's a very nice product, and I prefer that to something that is more chunky compared to the Apple Vision.
Well, I
So I'm
think
I'm I'm actually not really a fan of Apple in general lately. I don't think they are pushing the boundary as they used to.
it's interesting. Yeah, well, I mean, look, they're obviously one of the largest companies in the world. They've created these things that they have, which are very profitable. Obviously, being the iPhones that we all buy them. Well,
Yeah.
I certainly don't do it every year, but they try to get you to buy one every year, or at least every couple of years. But yeah,
Sure.
I think
Exactly.
yeah, in terms of innovation, no, I think I agree with you. I think there are other players that are probably more innovative in this day and age.
Yeah.
With those Ray-Bans, the thing I like about them too, though, is you know um, usability in everyday life. How often are you going
Mm.
to have this big headset on your face? That you're gonna be. No, I don't think it's that realistic. It's more like it makes you think like you're back in the 80s and the 90s when you had VR headsets and stuff. Um,
Mm.
when I saw Zuck doing the Ray Ban presentation, I thought that's the future. You look at that and you go,
Mm.
wow, that's where I thought things were going. Like that was really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you, mate. I think Zach changed a lot recently. Seeing open source, not completely open source, but mostly open source, LLM, Llama,
Yep.
coming out of but also Vision from Facebook is amazing, from image segmentation. So all these technology are part of what we said before, which is spatial computing, which
Yep.
is going to be integrated into the metaverse, and basically digitalization of physical world and the other way around, and whatever is in between.
Yeah.
And then like you mentioned, phone, I mean, nowadays, actually, as today, I can take a picture now of like, I don't know, whatever object that I have now at hand, like, glass, a surfboard, and then I can create a 3D model straight out of my phone
That's
with
wild.
that.
That is
And
wild.
then that 3D model, I can be uploaded in my, library of 3D model in my metaverse that I share with other people. So this is like something that is doable now. And I mean, to do this, obviously, I have to like tap into like a couple of like edgy platform that are pushing the envelope.
Yep.
But as soon as this technology is integrated in your iOS,
Yep.
so it's like you take the picture, now you just like, select the subject and do whatever. You're going to select the subject, 3D there, create the character out of there, and
Yep.
then so forth and so forth, because it's going to be really, really flexible. Because I don't know, like I'm not a coder, but like nowadays I can code almost everything that I need.
Yep.
I'm not talking about like, managing incredible amount of data coming from an API of a backend of something that's drive you nuts. But I can like, really tap into like many, many different like, advanced algorithm and things just because AI make this easier. So once you embed that in your iOS, it's like very easy integration. I just to conclude, I just saw like videos nowadays of people that are chatting like as we do now, and they are like meanwhile they are building something, asking for like Claude to generate some code and an app for I don't know creating images with stable diffusion. Okay,
Amazing.
1 hour is done. 1 hour
Yeah.
people chatting, bootstrapping an idea, and then you got your app ready for iTunes.
It's crazy.
And
It's crazy.
mm, is interesting, and then embed that into environment. Wow. So, like, if we really want to push the boundary of this conversation and talk about what's next, because the metaverse, we know almost all of us know what it's all about or have an experience,
Yep.
and everyone is waiting for what's next. Maybe we can talk about that.
Yeah. Well, what do you think is coming next? Because there's been so much. It's quite overwhelming, to be honest with you. All of the developments that have happened over the last few years. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think may be coming next for the space.
Absolutely. I think like we have to get back to the technology that probably is going to support a lot of these, which is AI.
Mm,
And the multimodal, GPTs are like super interesting. And I know that there is a Meta that is trying to like develop a model, AI model that don't just like learn from text, they learn from other
yep.
senses. So,
Yep.
and that's like where the things becomes interesting. Like and then we get back from digital to physical. Like there is this amazing company that is developing like parfum, like senses for and it's all about AI. You go to the platform, they ask some question, the AI create like the formula, and then there is this machine that create the sense. They ship you like three senses, custom parfum for you.
Yep.
The interior, like if you answer the question properly, should be like something that you might like
Yeah.
for a very
Nice.
for a half of the price of a parfum brand. So you
So
got
cool.
three. It's
Yeah.
very interesting, and this is like a blend of like physical, digital. Okay, so and AI is what is like powering all of this. So and yeah, it's amazing. Like another super cool example that I saw recently is like they test an entire world, let's say like with the dynamics of society in Minecraft. Like so every like person like character was following his own like self-interest in this system, and this is like amazing to simulate like what could happen in case like, whatever happened, like, an asteroid hit
Yeah.
this, or
Yeah.
like,
Wow.
whatever case. Yeah, this is like the next level of simulation that is happening. And when this is going to be translated in the consumer, probably, as you said, is like a simple, easy to wear, easy to switch on, object that you like. That's my, industrial design side.
Yeah.
Because you really need to like something to use there. Like, if it scares you, if it looks chunky, if it looks like too edgy, it's not for
Yeah.
everyone.
No, it's
It's
not.
like, and then what we are doing there is like really, really early stage. That's why I feel like Apple, like, they, instead of embracing this technology, they somehow, in my feeling, stop the development in many cases
Yeah.
just because they had to find their own way, just because probably there is no Steve anymore. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Let's be
They
honest. Yeah.
they move to Intel to wreck the things,
Yeah.
and to now this M1, which has M2, M3, which are amazing, and
Mm.
4, waiting for it. They're amazing. I love them, but they still, in the meantime, haven't like pushed like the envelope as they should.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like, and yeah, the new iPhone just yesterday released. They add like a button. Uh, it's like Steve Jobs that you add a button is like what? iPhone was having one button, and he basically like wrecked the company in a half to remove the only button that was having, like,
Oh
that was
no.
chunky.
Yeah,
And
like seriously, like my iPhone there. It's got no buttons.
Mm.
And they're putting buttons on again. I mean,
Like, what's the point?
I
It's
don't
like
know.
now we got like, and then if you think about that, you can do this without the button. It's like really getting into a zone which is like, uh is
It's the profit
you
zone. It's like it's so that they can make you know that you don't have the latest model. Like,
I
so
know.
there's a difference.
I absolutely, but like, they rely on OpenAI for AI. So they start to do like, try to do cars, Apple cars. They
They
try to do they
They
just,
spent how much money did they spend on that? They spent like $50 billion or something on trying to develop Apple cars, and then they just said, "Oh well, that's it."
like
Uh,
I don't know, we are like, digressing on Apple, but I feel like probably from my point of view is because like I was expecting like, this company to develop like meaningful technology as they
oh,
should,
totally, as they
as
should.
they always proclaim to be. Because like when they integrated like, music in your pocket, a lot of music in your pocket for ease, for fun, there
Yep,
was like a cultural shift. It was like an interesting, like,
totally.
things.
As an
In the
industrial designer, you must be like, that's your world, man. Like that sort of stuff. The app,
Yeah.
when the iPhone came out and the iPod came out, you must have been like, wow, that would have been amazing for you.
Oh, like, I love everything like that is really well, like, done. The last that is well taught. Um, so unfortunately, I don't see this happening. Recently with
No.
like the best, what is proclaimed to be the best company in the world. And
Mm.
it definitely is the one that got like the biggest amount of money or cash to sit in and play with.
Yeah.
As far as I know, then like you, and really then. I think I close on from my side, and then you can speed out whatever you want, though.
Yeah.
The last things I want to say is like they add a button on the new iPhone, and they don't have added like, a button on their earphones, so you don't cannot switch them on and off. So, and this is the new, this is like
What?
the, yes, this is the high range earphones from Apple that cost like a lot of money. And the new version doesn't have a switch on off button. Like this, and then you got a button just to make picture, because you don't find another way to make that with the button that you already have. Or anyway, like this is for me from Apple, and I feel like I close to that because I can't wait for a new fella developing like incredible things that I'm going
Yeah.
to adopt straight ahead.
Yeah.
Because like now again with AI, people can develop like, things very, very fast. and you don't need like, billions of engineers, stuff like that.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
just need like, yeah.
Well, so I know this is nothing to do with what the podcast was supposed to be about, being metaverse and AI and stuff. But
Yeah.
the industrial design side of things. I mean, I'm so interested in great design, and when it comes to Apple, I agree with you. Apple had just the best design when it started out.
It's still like, a nice object to touch, to have
Yeah.
is important.
No, for sure. And so I wonder, what would you say? What company do you look up to today in technological design that you think is just pushing the envelope? Are there any?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So there is like, this is like, well, like, the hardware side, like, the things that I like. There is like a lot of advancement in manufacturing. So, and we started with 3D printing, like, robotic arms and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And this stuff is happening now. And yeah, in terms of design, it's more about like company that use this technology to create like, meaningful product.
yeah,
Like, the best use case scenario now to scale is like definitely robotics, robots, easy like prototyping things, but even like, final products can be done
yeah,
with 3D printing,
yeah,
and advanced manufacturing in general. Yeah, but like in terms of design, there are like interesting design studio that do things and things like that. There are like, what's the name? Like, engineering something, together, forever engineering, young engineering. Oh, mate, I don't know. It's basically a company that is like doing design based on, um, kind of 80, 90s tech.
oh yeah,
So it's kind of very, you got like, three or four colors, like, gray, orange, and black and white, and then create these things that are very, very well done. And then they're most of the time like they are actually producing like a music hardware. So like, I think sampler, keyboards, things for musician that
cool.
wants to have things on the go. I think it's Forever Engineering or something like that.
Yeah, nice.
Or but like, and then there are designers that even they're doing very good product. The things is like, this digital life removed us like, from the physical things, and we need to find like, things in between.
Yeah, happy medium. I agree with
So
you.
an happy medium between the two. So like what's next? Next is like, mixing our senses, enhancing our experiences
Yep.
to create like a very interesting place in between that is not just digital. It can't be just physical, because
Yep.
if I want to talk with you, I have to use like, what's this platform, right? Riverside.
Riverside. Yeah.
So we haven't mentioned that I did like, probably the first, one of the first Metaverse classes.
Oh,
Probably
really?
most of the audience already like, is already sleeping. Uh,
Yeah.
but I did one of the first Metaverse class in an academic setting for the University of Sydney. This
Cool.
was like during COVID. Instead of using Zoom,
Yeah.
we just switched to this. Actually, why you don't think about? We can think about that. I can think about that for you. Very simple setup. You can record. You have to record then like the video. But basically, it's all about like being in a 3D setting,
Yeah.
okay? And then for students, it was all about like, looking at the project. There was like, future architect that looking at their project in a 3D environment. So they were like, oh
Cool.
wow.
Well, look,
So
I'll do this for you. So I've enjoyed the conversation today a lot. So when we do, and we'll do number two. When we do number two, we'll do it in a metaverse environment, and we'll record, the podcast episode in a metaverse environment. I think that'll be amazing.
the easy. Yeah, let's start to use this technology. Let's start to like, try to explore different medium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally
During
agree with you.
COVID, during COVID, it saved my life. I was living in this bloody, like, apartment. Now I'm in Bondi, I see the surfboard, happy life. At that time, I was in the city,
Yeah,
in a building. most of the time, a
Yeah.
little bit, and then there was like, you can go out, you can't move. If you go out for exercise just by yourself, you
It
can.
was it was hard, man. It was hard.
It was like literally military zone, and everyone accept that, and then everyone is like, thinking about that now. I think, but Metaverse saved my life. I was waking up at 5 a.m. just because there was this Doge disco party happening
Yeah.
on Zoom and things, and then there was on the Central End stuff, and it was like really, really, really happy place to be. Meanwhile, the world was like basically um, locked down, and yeah, there wasn't any physical interaction possible outside of your very close circle. So very
Yeah.
good if you were having family, but if you were a single man like myself at that time, it was like pretty tough time. But also, I think it's has been very tough time for everyone, especially the young one, not having a relationship when you are in this phase of development. Not It's not easy for the young one
No. Totally, totally.
because
No, I agree. It was a tough time for everyone. You're right, and especially for young people. And Metaverse was so good for so many people. Hey,
yeah.
I wanna ask you something that you may not have been asked before. Ethical implications of AI. So, being a designer yourself, I had a good friend, an old friend of mine, Justin Meller, who he's a digital artist. He's a previous guest on the podcast, and we had a really eye-opening discussion about ethics in AI from the perspective of design and art. Because I asked him basically, as an artist, how do you feel about these tools which are essentially replicating what artists create. And he had a really interesting take, which was yes, we can say whatever we want about people wanting to get have artists do their work and be really good with what they do, but at the end of the day, it's hard to get past the fact that all of these artists' work has been scraped by by OpenAI, by these LLM manufacturers, and replicated without consent, number one, and without payment, number two. And so, yeah, I guess I wanted to ask, what's your view on the ethics of the way that they've sort of developed these products, and do you see an issue with it? And
Yeah, of
how do you
course.
feel going forward?
Yeah, that's like, like interesting question as usual, but like thank you. But I feel like for me it was shocking because I was trying to use AI back in the days with Nip Level Code, Google Colabs, and there was just monster out of this, okay? I was creating like, image of faces with merged with like plants, and they were like just monster. It wasn't anything appealing.
Yeah,
And then all of a sudden there was this switch in which everything becomes like actually much better than what you can do in hours and hours of practicing.
yeah,
So that was like shocking. And I got like probably 1 year in which I wasn't able to produce almost art, to be honest. And in that
really,
year I was, yes. And then in that year I've been just like, yeah, chipping around, learning about this, using having this problem about, because the much I was pushing the boundary, the more that I was like, creating amazing things, the more I was like, oh my God, this stuff is so easy to do.
yeah,
And like it has a big impact, so talking about like the point that you touched about, like, stealing data, reusing them. Okay, like, I think like every artist see something, reuse that and recreate that. So, and the law in design said that most of the time, anyway, whatever. I don't want to talk about these things. My point is like, I think you should expect, like, some sort of like, yeah, dynamics as like, someone needs to use the history to recreate the history, and in this case a machine that is still in there. It's
mm,
not a human that you can say, hey, you basically learn from all of this and then you are creating these paints, and then what you can say, no, because you steal the actual like, file. So the problem is like using the file.
Yeah,
So
I think that's what it is. Rather
what
than using your eyes, because like a painter or someone, looks at things and then
what if I saw these things online? They are
yeah,
publicly
well,
available. What if like, everyone can do that? Like, what if like these smart people that can memorize like, incredible amount of numbers and images
yeah,
and do something like that and then reproduce. I don't know. I don't want to touch the things. I think as an artist, I got the block. I know it's very tough, but as a designer, first thing is like being perhaps scary, then use that for your own goal, your own purpose, for your own good,
yeah,
and try to like, don't rely too much on that because it's like the calculator, like at one point no one is gonna be able to do like 32 multiplied by 4.
yeah,
Can you do that? Can you do that? How long does it take
yeah.
you?
32 multiplied by 4, 132, 128. Yeah, I can
That's
do
good.
that.
Yeah, yes, yes.
I'm all right with
But
that stuff. Yeah,
of course, because we are talking about like finance, like like a math-oriented
yeah, yeah.
like
That's true.
person, let's say.
Yeah,
But like in general, like using calculators basically makes us like not thinking about, not memorizing the phone numbers. I don't memorize your phone number. No one does that. Before
no,
everyone was memorizing that.
yeah,
AI is gonna do the same.
yeah,
Okay, but talking about rights and what he's doing is just a process of disruption. When Picasso back in the days was like stealing from primitive arts, which is like basically art from the African, like the mask, all this very primitive, interesting, fascinating way of seeing things compared to neoclassicism that was like basically people like, hey, we don't know what to do. We go back to the Romans and the Greek, even if it's like 1900, because there is nothing more beautiful than that, which is true.
yeah,
But you have to also like evolve from there.
yeah,
And then Picasso stole and all these things, and then create cubism came created not create was part of like the creation of the cubism, and I love the like modern art and contemporary modern art. So this is like part of the process. You have to know that this disruption is gonna happen. These things
yeah,
is like pretty massive. My opinion is like ethics, things, guys. I think we're gonna divide the world before AI and after AI.
mm,
Fast forward, at one point we're gonna be like the world we should divide before AI and after AI, because like is pretty impactful as a technology
yeah,
because it can exponentially like develop itself. It can fix and solve a lot of stuff. It can be the like a future of abundance, um, where like the size of the market is unlimited because there is no cap on energy, there is no cap on labor. So that's like the best case scenario.
yeah,
I'm really into like accelerating everything because I want to see things happening more than like too much overthinking about what is like basically where we are going, what we need to do, and like pondering and like stopping and things like that. Let's make things happen
yeah,
fast, like and see like where these things like how can we like makes the things better with with this tech and again the possibility are limitless.
limitless.
Yeah, so we live interesting time. Interesting time. Ethics is a problem, but like again, probably as we mentioned, as a technology, you have to use that in the proper way. So the ethics is also your ethics.
Yeah,
Is a knife. You can use a knife to cut the meat or like stab people. It's still a new technology. Is a sharp object that human invent, and then is your usage around there. So yeah.
I guess you have to decide whether it's a knife, whether it's a gun, whether it's a nuclear bomb. Like and each of those have relative levels of restrictions on them because of their potential for destruction in the wrong hands. So you got to
But this is
decide what the level is.
absolutely, but like if I have to get into the zone of the war zone or like really like having this fantastic conversation about also this, but like nowadays there are like this is like very recent. I saw like it was like an oyster. I think it was like, yeah, it was a molluscus, like, like a very simple organism, shellfish, shell
Yeah, a
things.
mollusk or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was basically able to pilot a robot and move to do whatever. Yes, this is
Wow.
like yeah, it's like actually my cousin was like developing this like 10 years ago. He was talking about this 12, 15, 10 years ago. He was like
Incredible.
in Switzerland and he was like, developing these ships, let's say, that can control ants, for example. Like, you do some electrical impulse and they move left and right.
Wow. Oh, what's it
And now, and now,
Like Ant-Man
and
from
this is
Marvel?
the other way around now is like you got the animal that command like a robot, for example.
Yeah.
So now you got like engineered mosquito that can inject like vaccine. So I think like
Wow.
having like the fear of like the war of with the nuclear bombs. I think a nuclear bomb is like one of the many now that you should expect that can get wrong. And hopefully it's not the case. So yeah, yeah. So it's important that like people keep like the head
On the
on their
shoulders.
shoulders. Yeah, because you can't wait for the other one to develop the best ethical system, ethical things. This is like how I see the world. Okay, it's not like the ultimate holy grail.
Yeah.
I don't think you should censor like access to something. You should like educate the people not to have access to something when you
Yeah.
are like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
It's not like someone like that becomes like a double-edged yeah, sword. Um, so yeah, I feel like it's always down to the individual to like think about these ethics and things. Personally, I got this block 1 year not producing art and I using AI every time. Like I really actually love that. I think it's great to learn like how to do like coding for like 3D modeling or coding for the metaverse or coding
Yeah.
for like the real product or coding for a website. It's
Yeah.
like many different things: Java, Dex, Python, C++, C Sharp, you name it. Now it's not a problem, and I
No,
love that.
it is
and I
good.
can
It is good.
you know what I'm saying?
It
I
makes
can
it easier.
create. It makes it easier. It makes it easier. You have an idea. You can bootstrap the idea,
Yeah.
create the idea, get and help hands on. I love AI. I think AI, if we use AI in the right way, is going to enhance us for the better.
Yeah.
Okay. And of
Totally.
course, we have to be careful on the ethics. We have to be careful of like, flying mosquito that injects us like, whatever. Because now they spray with the airplane, but mosquito is more effective. I'm
Totally, man.
joking. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's just like, we can actually, these things unfortunately that happened like a month ago, I think in USA, but we can like we can think about like also better fashion, better case scenario for that. And
Yeah.
if it is the case, we need to mind like to be careful. And yeah, it's very
Totally.
important
Totally.
to be independent.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. It's very important. Simone, it's been a great chat so far.
Thank you so much.
We're going to wrap it up in a second. The thing that I want to ask you though at the end, because I finish all of our podcasts, they finish the same way, because with a person such as yourself who has had so much success in metaverse, there's so much advice that you can give. So I'd love for you to give the listeners today 3 tips if they want to get into metaverse. What they should do, either investment, either production, artistic, whatever you want to give. 3 tips of advice for people who want to get into metaverse.
Okay, so let's say like, 3 use case scenario. So if you're a business, try to expand your offering with like, a more immersive experience, such as like, a metaverse. It doesn't need to be that you completely pivot your company. It just needs to be an add-on, can be like, a capsule project that you just spin off just to, showcase and test. That it might
Yeah.
be like your vertical. It might be like something that, completely change your life. If you are a student, you probably very, very soon are going to move into this kind of 3D setting for also educational purposes because there is going to be time and it's actually part of the study now to create more engaging environment for
Yeah.
for people, something that stimulate people in a more interesting way, more like comprehensive way if you want, because audio, video, plus you can interact and move. So it's less passive than just talking like as we do now.
Yeah.
So, and the last probably use case scenario, last tip is for the everyday user. So the everyday user like me and you, we live in this society in which we are full on full submerged of like input. Okay, everyone wants our attention society.
Totally.
Metaverse probably wants a little bit of that from you. Okay, so, and honestly, maybe it takes you probably more than like 10 minutes, but just spending half an hour one day and try to dig into what is happening now in
Yep.
the metaverse. So just looking at into Mona Gallery, as I mentioned before, Spatial, Decentraland. I still really like CryptoVoxel, which is in New Zealand. And just have a go there because there are still like a lot of people that are playing around. You might find something interesting, okay? And it's like probably more, how can I say, fun experience than just scroll your TikTok,
Yes. I
So,
totally get you.
like you just yeah, a different kind of things, and the adoption is about us using that.
Amazing, man. All right. Well, Simone, I have really enjoyed
Jerome.
having our chat today. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jerome. I really like what you're doing here. I think it's very important, you take the time to talk with good people in this space and experienced people, professionals, and yeah, very, very informative, educational. So well done.
Thank you,
Thank you
man.
for having me. Yeah, I love
Oh
that.
no, I really appreciate it, and this is episode number 20, I think it is. So around 20 now, and yeah, I'm going to take you up on doing a second one in the metaverse next time, and
Exactly.
by that time, I'm sure we'll have a really great experience to be able to create it and showcase it as well.
Yeah, so that looks awesome. Can't wait for that. Thank you.
Awesome, man. All right, I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you want to find out more about MezFi, go to www.mezfi.com. Follow us on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. You can see our shorts there, and look forward to the next conversation, and see you then.